I'm upset today. My inflammation is going down. Let me lift this up so you can see. I did a whole head of garlic with tea. And so what I did was the reason I did it that way, and I'm not wasn't concerned, is because the hot boiling water sort of cooks it. So it was like having cooked garlic, not the raw garlic, but fresh garlic. So you can see the inflammation is going down, but they're still doing this, and it has to be coming from above. They said they have different apartments doing it because they said once I discovered the voices and was able to prove it, then I had to be, I don't know the word they use, but something along the lines of I had to be, oh, they just said neutralized. Now, when do you normally use the word neutralize in regular conversations? You know what's so weird is a lot of the tactics they've been using, I'm looking up, and professionals use these tactics, meaning people trained in these type of psychological operations. This isn't just psychological, it's physical as well. Use these words. So it's not like I could all of a sudden say neutralize. So when they're talking and they said that I haven't had a man in years and these types of things, what it's telling me is that that goes back to when I told you it was about prostitution. It's about getting me to the point where they said I need protection. They said part of this, and this goes back to my reason for claiming this is anti-heterosexuality, is because they feel that if you don't have a man as a woman, you aren't protected. That's what they said. The reason that's so important is why it's anti-heterosexuality is for women who actually enjoy men, and I do. It's the idea that you can't enjoy a man, you have to use a man to get protection. And there's something in that as a woman who lives in a country where that sounds insane. It sounds like something coming from a different country, which is partly what I'm saying these tactics come from, and come from someone doing this professionally, is the idea that as a woman, in order to be protected on a regular basis, you must be married. So it's not just anti heterosexuality, it's anti woman sexuality. And I'm someone who supports that. I have to tell you, I'm a Democrat. I support democratic issues. I support female sexuality. The idea that I could date a guy, not marry him, and still enjoy him. And just like a man could say that and no one would think twice about that, why can't I as a woman say that? So it's, to me, it's the idea that a woman and a man can enjoy each other without one person taking advantage of the relationship is what I hear them saying. The other thing is my head, when I was at the worst point with this, used to hurt right up here. And I used to try to film this area, and one side would look larger than the other. This is probably the first time I remember where my head doesn't have that like little hump. Maybe this side looks a little bit bigger, but I can't link the video the way I'm filming it, but I could put it in the description. This side used to be so swollen, and I put my hair back because now you see why they call me a square head. They said I call someone a big head, but they call me a square head. Do you see my hairline? And that used to be my jawline. So do you see the squareness? It's not oval. When they were hitting me, they changed my face shape to make it more. I'm trying to move this. This is like Halloween or something, to make it more oval and less square. But like they said, a square head, and I'll title this square head. So that was another big deal. As I'm telling you these things, and they said they wish they could do this all over. I think that's what they just said. I'm not going to put the quote because I'm not sure if that's what they just said, but they've been saying that all along because they said they've been telling me the wrong thing. For example, I there's a channel. I don't want to say the channel because since these people are getting me upset today, I don't want to associate anything negative to the channel. But they said that you're not supposed to just like stare into the camera like this. You're supposed to maybe spend over 50% of your time looking at the camera, but it's normal as to speak to people and not just like stare at them. And when I was going through some of my playlists, because I have so many playlists, I'm starting to delete some of them and combine. I went through the head shape videos, and I wondered why. And they were started talking as I'm going through it, explaining that that's what they use to be able to tell who is what race, what ethnicity. Um, I guess like they said, this is a very English, British face shape. So for me, it's hard to understand that. But from what I'm understanding about this, is that certain head shapes, like my head shape, would identify me as someone, since it's less oval, more square, I'm clearly someone who has some sort of a British background. So it's not just enough that I'm black, but they would need to know before they approach me, okay, what kind of black are you? So when they're talking about these things, these aren't things I grew up understanding. They said what they're trying to do is combine stories about me and things that they said they've noticed to come up with an answer to tell if I'm lying. The truth of this is that they're not understanding. And I said this in a previous video. The way you feel about someone will always not shape but affect if you think that person's a liar or not. I don't understand that thought process. If I had been lying, they would have just immediately said, "These are lies. Here's the truth." Blah blah blah. Instead, they're coming up with a computer program where every little thing I say that's a lie, so that I have to then defend myself in the moment, and that's frustrating. I wasn't feeling well earlier today, so I had this whole head of garlic and garlic tea, and I went to the ladies' room, and you know what that means. But I started to feel better. I'm taking my time. I just had turmeric. I'm taking my time trying to feel better. But I realize now I'm not going to go back to being normal. But at least there will be moments in my day when I'm feeling better. And I tell you guys this, what's working. Massaging works. I like somebody, and I'm not going to name that person, also on YouTube, who's taught us easy massages. So, of course, when I was talking I think I was just making a reply on YouTube, the person was like, "Yeah, you went to speech therapy." Whoever's doing this said, one of the voices said, "You went to speech therapy and they showed you some of these massages." That's true and false. They showed some massages for the throat and the voice, but not all the massages. So it confirms that massaging is good. But it also means that a lot of these YouTube videos, and especially this one particular doctor, has been very helpful. There are other people on YouTube who have been helpful. And what I'm saying about that is that in them arguing with me and calling me a liar, they're admitting the truth. They're admitting, yes, I did have to go to speech therapy, not once, but twice. I shouldn't have to. They shouldn't be doing, excuse me, they shouldn't be doing anything to me that would cause me to have to go to speech therapy. The other thing is, some of this that you're seeing right now means my stomach is getting flatter. I'm going to see if I can film this so that you can see my stomach is now much flatter. You saw it when it was at its worst. Let me pause this and see if I can film this. So here's my stomach, and that's pretty good. So that was my stomach, and that's pretty good. So it's coming out. But what they're doing now is trying to say that when I was a kid, like I said, I was born in 1973. So I turned 10 December 1983. They said that some people, based on what affiliation you were with, had the ability to hear these voices. And like I've told you, the technology they're quoting isn't invented. There are patents for the technology, but no one's confirmed that they actually work. So when they're saying that I could see things at night, then why were they describing those things at night? So it's not about seeing, it's about, to me, it's about having the ability to hear what they're saying because it's out loud, it's not going directly into my head, but it's also, I feel, because they do it all night for hours, it's like, if you describe something, most of us, if you describe something, you could visualize it. So I think that could be part of this. So when they're coming up with things that they said, I said, and I know I didn't say it, and everyone around me knows I didn't say it, and especially now, you're saying this when I'm 51. Why didn't you say it back then? It's because they lied. The reason the surveillance was necessary is to find out my personality assessment, my head shape, Squarehead. My coloring, because they accuse me of bleaching my skin, as you guys can tell. My skin is pretty much the same except for the spots where they targeted, which are darker. So I didn't bleach my skin. So it's just about lying to me and on me. The other part of that is that now that I'm trying to do things that aren't connected to gang stalking and more in general, they're upset about that because this was supposed to keep me constantly paranoid. I'm supposed to be paranoid, but part of why it's out loud and now I'm telling you these things that I've never known. I never knew about neutralizing anybody. It's hard for me. I think it bothered me today, especially because they are admitting the things that I've said happened. And they're admitting they did it to not just me as a child, but other people. When I listen to people who've been through this and they talk about it when they were children, meaning they remember it as children. Imagine them being neutralized as little kids. And for those of us who are being neutralized as adults, how that makes you feel. They started talking about things that happened to me when I was a child, but it didn't happen the way it's happening to me now, like physical pain, lying on me, saying I in 2019 I wasn't showering. Of course I was showering. In 2020 I wasn't showering. Of course I showered. It's all of these things. And part of why they said they wanted my life story is so that they could repackage it, which is partly what I've been talking about. It started with, oh, we helped you all along. Well, no, you didn't. Oh, this happened to you. No, it didn't. They said, they just said something about they wanted to know why I didn't apologize. There was nothing to apologize for. I told you in a previous video, when something happens, I apologize at the time. So think of it this way. If they said I did something wrong 30 years ago and I apologized 30 years ago, I wouldn't have to apologize 30 years later. But I think what that is about, and like I said, you notice that the people that talking about these interactions are not involved in this. Had they been involved, this would have been completely different. Meaning, partly what I think they're trying to do is keep me feeling like I shame, shame and blame. And that's a very manipulative thing to do. So meaning in the moment, if I bump into someone on the street or on the bus, I say, oh, I'm sorry. And that's it. They said years ago I was on the bus and they just said I actually told them this story. But it goes back to what I'm saying. There's something about this whole program system. Years ago, I found a video. No, excuse me. Years ago, they said something, and I found a video where I noted the date they said this. They said that they put me in this program or this system. At the time, I think they used the word system. But again, it's the idea that they put me in this. I couldn't have always been in it if they admit to putting me in this. And partly why I think they did it was to neutralize me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments. And thank you so much for all the research people have done, all the information people have shared. It's made a difference for me. And I know there are people who I communicate with, and it's making a difference for them. So we are making a difference. Thank you.